Hello and welcome to the next episode, the next lesson of Cylinder Radio. I'm your host, Will Roosh, 15-year high school teacher in Los Angeles, taught a little bit in Pennsylvania. And now I'm out here and I have a podcast and some social media. And I am really excited to have my guest on today. And what we're going to discuss is social media education, how we use social media to educate and become better and things like that. And I am thrilled to have Cydnee Black here. Cydnee is a content creator and a media personality, and I was just sincerely blown away when I saw her YouTube videos. And what it was she is doing, and we'll get into this, but she is doing what I believe the job of a teacher should be, and she's doing it better than anyone I've ever seen. And I mean that sincerely. It's better than any other teacher I've ever seen. And I'll get into why, because people might not understand what like how that is, that this content creator is doing a teacher's job better than the teachers are. But I just want to say thank you, Cydnee, for agreeing to come on the podcast. Thank you for being here. Can you just introduce yourself to us? Tell us a little bit about you, your background, things like that. So those who aren't familiar.
Well, my name is Cydnee Black. I am originally from Denver, Colorado. I've been living in Los Angeles for about 4 or 5 years now, doing YouTube mainly. And I do want to say that I feel that teachers have one of the hardest jobs that ever exists. So I appreciate your flattery so much when you tell me that I'm doing a better job than teachers, but I do think that I have a lot more leisure and free time to actually come up with the creativity and put a lot of thought behind what I'm doing. I don't feel like teachers have enough room to do that anymore. And I think that really does impact how effective they are with communicating what's important to students. I think we need to give teachers more. I definitely think that. But I started out doing makeup videos, love makeup for a while, and then I got tired of talking about it. It just came really redundant, just talking about the same things, and I felt like it didn't matter anymore. When I started doing makeup videos in 2013, it was because there weren't a lot of people who looked like me on YouTube. So I wanted to create a space where I could offer tips and advice on makeup products and ways of applying makeup, because I felt that it helps people be more confident. It helped women be more confident. I saw that in my real life when I was doing makeup on my friends and clients that I worked with. They felt good about themselves, and I wanted to give that to people on a broader scale. And that was really fulfilling for a while, and now I feel like there's so much of it that it wasn't having the same impact on me. So I wanted to do something where I could still be entertaining and give people a bit of a break. Sometimes I feel like my videos can be just a bit of you kind of just turn off and relax, but you're still getting information while you're sitting. But I wanted to be giving information. I feel like we waste so much time on social media and on the internet. And if you're going to waste time with me, I'd rather you learn something that you can take back with you into your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you do this series, I don't watch, like, if you're just like talking about makeup, I just like, my wife watches those. But I watched, the one on World War II and JFK, Theranos, all of those. You do a segment called Makeup and History. That's what it's called, right? Mm-hmm. Makeup and History, where you just do like a history lesson while you're putting on makeup. You kind of look at the camera, but kind of just like look in the mirror and just putting on makeup and stuff like that. And to get to why I'm saying, well, first of all, I agree with you when it comes to teaching. What I see as the big problem in my field is giving teachers the creative room to just do their lessons their way. So it feels very authentic for themselves. And a lot of times they're just too regimented about standards, and you have to do this and you have to do it this way and everything like that. It's why I left teaching public school, and then I went to a charter, and then I had to leave the charter to go to a private school where I can just go do things my way, and that's where I can flourish. I think we need to model that a little bit. But what you do is you just basically okay, so here's what I want to know what your thoughts are on this. What I say the job of a teacher is not to have the knowledge, because we have phones that have all the knowledge. The day that I can lose my job to Google is the day that I should. So it's not, who was the 26th president? I don't know. It's teachers are translators. We take information and we translate it. So teenagers who are so focused on whether or not they have a pimple, or will this boy like me or girl like me, like that kind of stuff, how do I translate this information to them? We're translators. And because that's my philosophy about teaching, when I saw your videos, you speak teenager, like fluently.
Yeah.
And so it's something that they relate to. You talk just like them. You focus on the parts of the history story that they would relate to. And that's how you get them interested in it. And that's maybe an explanation about why I was so just drawn to your videos. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think that what I try to do, at least in the videos that I have out now and the ones that I have upcoming, is to find something that is the most relatable aspect. And people, like we like talking about people. We like gossiping, I will say, but I try to do so in a non-negative light. I try to just speak to what actually happened, and then I can add in information that maybe you wouldn't find so interesting if I was just talking about this. Because everyone, I think, of what I found now, which is really shocking, I'm so grateful for, are people like you who want to watch my videos. I get so many women commenting saying, my husband watches this with me now. He's been asking me if you uploaded a new video. I'm getting a lot of people over 65, which I never gotten before, saying they're giving it to their grandkids and sharing it on Facebook. Because when you talk about human beings in ways that we can all relate to, we can all relate to being in relationships. We can all relate to going to college, or someone we don't think is necessarily with the Elizabeth
Holmes.
Yes, I was gonna say Taylor. Holmes situation, where you're like, everyone knows someone who's like, are we kidding right now? Like, why is everyone believing this person? You have to find an aspect that you find really relatable, that other people will also relate to, and it often has to do with how we see other people. I think that's a really important part in telling the stories and getting people engaged.
Yeah, relating the material is so important, and what happens, I think some of my colleagues get annoyed with me because students come, whether it's in advisory or just in the hall, and they're always like, why do I need to learn? Mr. Roosh, do you ever use Algebra 2? I'm like, no, never. No. Well, then why are we learning it? I'm like, I have to explain it. Like, it's a problem-solving class. Math is a problem-solving class. English is a communications class. Science is a class where you find out what's true or not. And history is learning from past successes and failures. That's it. And I was like, ask your teachers why you need to learn this and how this will make your life better. They're like, we tried and they don't have answers for us. I was like, then that must be really hard to learn.
Yeah.
Like, as adults, like, we don't learn things. We don't go on those YouTube rabbit holes on things we're not interested in. We only learn stuff we're interested in.
No, and as an adult, I do see now how much I do feel like the education system could garner around specific interests. Maybe, I guess that would be a bit difficult with so many people, but we do learn a lot of things that we don't know why we're learning it. And I'm sure there are specific reasons why we're learning it, but we treat kids like they're idiots, like their brains aren't functioning, and we can't tell them this is why you're learning this. Of course, maybe they're not going to use it, but math helps you with problem solving skills and reasoning and thinking of things critically or in a different way. You're not probably going to use those formulas anymore or ever again. Now you know how to critically think in that way, and that does help you. But we're not explaining the why to people anymore. No one wants to be bothered with doing the why anymore.
Yeah, and you really reach kids where they're at, which is on social media. Another thing that I want to talk about is you're the first influencer I've had on the podcast, and I do these like air quotes because I did a video a little bit back, and it's essentially like, we have a lot of influencers, we don't have a lot of leaders. And I think that you are a leader as well. And the way I distinguished it was influencers, because their audience is tied up in feeling good, that if you say something your audience doesn't want to hear, they move on to the next. Where a leader tells you what you need to hear, even if you don't necessarily want to hear it. And I've seen you do that. And I saw you do it with a Candace Owens video, which what was your thoughts? Because that's an interesting road to go down, to address Candace Owens as this lightning rod. And I talk about her a lot, because I think we should be talking about her a lot, and like what she means to, the current dialogue around race and all that kind of stuff. But were you hesitant to do that? Were you like, should I even address it? Like,
no, I mean, I have been hesitant in the past because my channel was strictly just beauty and lifestyle. And I found that when I did talk about things that veered out of that, people were like, just shut up and put on lipstick. Like, we don't want to hear, this is why you shouldn't speak about this, because you just do makeup. Which
People
was
said
really,
that to you?
yeah, of course. So many. I got a lot of comments about that. Because it wasn't until the last year or so where I really started speaking my mind and sharing the things that I think and things that I find important in real life, because makeup isn't what I find super, super important in my real life anymore. I still enjoy it. I still love the artistic expression of it, but it's not what I want to talk about. So I'm really interested in history. I'm really interested in politics and religion and more of the things that we don't really talk about collectively because it gets so messy and sometimes very, volatile.
Yeah.
But I think that those are important things, and I do think that I have a talent for speaking about things in a way that's not emotionally provoking. So I've been trying to do that more, where I'm explaining to people. I follow Candace Owens because she offers perspectives different from what I'm used to hearing from people who look like me. A lot of the times and things,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I'm all about. Yeah.
yeah, it's true. It really is an echo chamber, and I've recently veered out because I wanted to understand. I was like, what is it so what is so bad about Republicans, conservative ideals? What is it? Why do we hate this so much?
Yeah.
And I veer out and I learn and listen, and some of the things I don't agree with, some of the things I do agree with. And this gives me a lot more grace, so I'm not walking around angry at the world and at people because I think that they hate me or they don't care about my existence. That's not it at all. We need more context, and we need to have more space to absorb information without being so emotional and without getting so triggered and pissed, when that doesn't help anything. It literally doesn't help anything. So I followed Candace Owens on Instagram, and I got a lot of messages from people asking me why. They were like, well, you follow Candace Owens, does that mean you support Candace Owens? Does that mean you support Trump? And I just stopped and said, that is a lot of assumptions you just made in that small amount of time, based on me just following someone that you don't like. Now I'm not allowed to follow someone that you don't approve of. That makes absolutely no sense. And if you listen to what she talks about, sometimes she is very correct. Other times I don't agree with what she says, but that's the point of understanding what's going on and hearing different perspectives. Because right now we're becoming so divisive and so no one wants to listen to anything anyone else is saying. We're just taking one thing and running with it, and it's not helping. I don't think it's helpful at all.
Yeah, I put messages up on Candace Owens all the time, and people respond to it. I think that she's not incorrect. It's her delivery method.
I agree.
Her delivery method, the vehicle she uses is not empathetic. It's not
There's
kind.
no compassion. She has no compassion.
No, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it becomes this. It's the people who like her are gonna like her. They're gonna like her message, and she's missing the people. She has important ideas. She said things that are like that. I think people should hear or could hear, but they're so turned off by her delivery. You also did it in the World War II one about like, you made me agree with Hitler, which, by the way, like for context, it was just because he stepped in to stop like someone from cheating on their wife, basically. But that's the context of that.
I know. You could please do the context.
Yeah. But just the idea that like understanding these things. I teach history class, and I talk about slavery and Nazism and like just horrible atrocities. If we don't understand how those atrocities happen, and we just say, oh, they're evil, and it's that, and I'm not evil, so then you won't see it coming when you start acting in certain ways. You're not going to see it rising if it's among someone that you don't see as evil. Like, we got to really understand, not excuse. We're not excusing this stuff.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we're explaining it so that we'll see it coming when it leads up. But getting to what I said, like, I see you as, you're an influencer, because you have, millions of people watching you. But you're also a leader because you're saying things that are getting people that they need to hear, even though it was a risk, because you could turn people off. When you say that stuff, people just go, all right, unsubscribe, I'm out. And that's how you make your living now. That's a risk, but it's a risk we need to take. And it's been frustrating for me, just personally, to see people, Cydnee, who are in a position like yours, who are just staying away from all of that stuff because they're worried that they're going to lose their jobs as an influencer. And it was really refreshing to see you kind of tackle some of this stuff. And if you're wrong, you say like, if I'm wrong, let me know, fact check me. You put yourself out there, like, you don't want bad ideas. So if I have bad ideas, please let me know. It's very refreshing.
Please, I make a point to say that at the beginning of my videos, because I am working on this actively, with becoming okay with being wrong and making mistakes and being corrected and moving forward from that. I think we're so afraid to make mistakes online now because of the repercussions we see happening to everyone else, getting canceled and losing all these followers, and really their whole life being ruined or going up in flames because they said one thing wrong or they offended a certain group of people. So I like to make that known right at the beginning. Please correct me, fact check me. I include my sources so you know where I got all of this information from, so you can go and do more research or information yourself. And I found that there are some people who do still get offended and do get upset, but the majority of people see that I'm not coming from a place of malintent at all, and I'm open to understanding how I could make these videos better. So in the video where I talked about Joseph Goebbels, the initial title was he brainwashed millions, and I got a couple comments from people saying brainwashing. I don't like that you use the term brainwashing because it takes responsibility from what the people actually did. It's removing responsibility from the actions that they actually took. And I said, okay, I hear that. I agree with that. I changed the word to manipulated, which I kind of feel is the same thing, but maybe it has more of a I honestly felt like the word is the same to me, but people seem to appreciate that word better than brainwashing, I guess. And when they watched the video, I said, I'm not trying to remove responsibility from people, but I think it's important for us all to understand how we're susceptible to brainwashing. We're all susceptible to being manipulated by the media, and this is how it happens. So there were some people who were upset by that, but for the most part, people understand, I think, where I'm coming from and know that I'm not in any way trying to provoke bad ideas.
What's it like, Cydnee? Like, what's it like to be, like, I mean, do you get, I was going to say like famous. I guess it is. I mean, you have millions of people who look at these videos. There was one of my students last year or 2 years ago, during like a break, came back and said, oh my gosh, did you hear about Dylan? I was like, no, what's going on? He's like, he got to meet and hang out with David Dobrik. And I go, what's that? They're like, David Dobrik. I was like, who's that? I don't know who that is. They're like, he's super famous. I was like, I know who Brad Pitt is. Like, did you hang out with Brad Pitt? Like, no, there's like fame is not like the people like, I'm 38, like people who like we think are famous. To younger people, it's people on YouTube, it's YouTubers and things like that. What is that like? Does it feel like you're famous? Is it odd? Is it cool? What is it? Do you get stopped on the street? Like, what is that like?
I don't feel like I'm famous. I don't feel like I'm famous, I think, because I spend most of my time in my house with my husband and my dog, and I make the video, I upload the video, and then I check out and watch something on Netflix. So to me, it doesn't feel like, looking at how the younger generation absorbs media, they are looking at David Dobrik and who's another one? Huge people online, James Charles, that are like these mega stars now. They're actual celebrities, and that's who they look to. They don't watch traditional media the same way.
Yeah. Or they watch like old, like maybe like Friends or something like that in reruns, but it's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same thing like we had growing up with like movie stars.
Yeah.
You know, I think part of this is I want to get into a little bit, and I said this a little bit before we started recording, but having been around teenage girls, because, you know, I've been teaching high school for 15 years, teenage girls especially, it's teenage boys too, they have their own issues. Like, teenage girls are so self-conscious. And talk about hair. So girls with curly hair, when it's time to like look nice, quote unquote, I'm doing a lot of air quotes, when they have straight hair, they curl it. Girls with curly hair, when they want to look nice, they straight, like there's like this really uncomfortableness around that. But when I watched your videos, and still do, like, you're kind of goofy, like you're a little like, weird and all that kind of stuff. But you own it. And when I see young women own it, like really like this is who I am. Yeah, I'm goofy. I'm awesome in these ways. I'm struggling in these ways. It's like, this is who I am. It's so awesome to see. It really is, because girls are horrible to each other. I've seen Mean Girls. I get it. Like,
Yeah.
they're horrible to each other. I think you put yourself out there that way. Is that, I'm assuming that's something you developed. Like, you weren't always very comfortable in front of a million people, or were you? Like, in front of a million people without makeup, being goofy, saying weird things?
No. It's definitely something that I've developed recently. Is like coming here with no makeup on. I'm wearing this big t-shirt, and this is how I look normally in my everyday life. I put on makeup for videos because it's, again, fun, it's creative, it's an artistic expression, but I have made a point in the last, I would say this year, to be more of who I actually am online, because I got so sick of seeing this image of perfection when it comes to women and girls, and the alterations people are doing to their faces and bodies for these images, and the Snapchat filters, and the always trying to be pretty. The only way to change that is for people to see that you don't have to be that way all the time. You don't have to do that. You can be who you are. You can be funny. You can be silly. You can not wear makeup. You can not wear your wig. I love showing myself without my wig on my videos, and showing my hair growth, because I'm growing out my hair. I shaved my hair last year, and I'm regrowing it out, and showing it's okay. Like, it's okay to look how you look and be who you are. I think that'll only get better when more people become comfortable with doing that online. Because right now, the way it's just so, this image of perfection and making people feel like they need to be perfect all the time, and pretty all the time, and cool all the time. And it's very restricting. It's a prison, I think.
Yeah, well, Jonathan Haidt, I don't know if you're familiar with him, the social psychologist. If you're not, you would love him. I can send you some stuff.
Right. Yes, please do.
Yeah, he started the Heterodox Academy, which I'm involved with. It's all the idea of just different perspectives, and how we have different moral taste buds, about how conservatives have, focus on these morals, and liberals have focus on these morals. It's not that people are immoral, they just have different morals. But anyway, it's right up your alley. But he also talks a lot about the studies he's done on social media and the way it affects, the biggest negative effect has been on teenage girls, are the most negatively affected. And to bring about the change in that, I think there has to be a market for it, because I have whatever, like 3,000 followers or something like that, which I grinded to kind of get, but it's for whatever reason, like, it's just, doesn't catch on. I'm sure it'd be a lot better if I just owned libtards, or yelled about Trump or something like that. But I'm not. So
no,
it's a little slow.
You're too reasonable, but it'll come. I think you can, if you're consistent with it. There's no choice. It'll come.
But there has to be a market for it, and I think that if there's a market where, like, people want to watch your videos, buy your product, so to speak, then that's how it changes. And I think so. That's why it's so important for people like you in your position to do what you're doing, to put yourself out there, to say that, because they think you're cool. So, if Cydnee's cool, she does this stuff, maybe I can just kind of show myself, and I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to take 50 selfies just to get the perfect selfie with the perfect duck face and stuff like that. Like, maybe I can do something different. And I think that once we show that there's, like, proof in concept that, wow, you get 1 million followers, you're crushing the game, and you're doing this. Oh, well, then I'm going to do that too. Oh, me too. And then before we know it, there's ripple effects of having positive impacts on young women and not negative. And I think that's probably the only way it's going to get done.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with each individual creator doing that. And it is frustrating to me to see peers of mine in the makeup industry who are still talking about makeup, or talking about things that really aren't, I don't feel that they're impactful enough. But then again, I feel, who am I to say, what they should be talking about, or what they find is interesting? I can only focus on myself, and I knew I wanted to make a change where I could have a better impact on the people watching me, at least. So you're right. I hope it will be a ripple effect. I really do, but I can only control what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it might be that they're scared to do anything. It might be that they're, scared to be wrong or canceled. It also might be that that's just who they are. They might just be, as deep as a puddle. You know what I mean? Like, some people are, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're just authentic to yourself, you have something that you want to talk about, that you can. The way that and you're way better at the social media game, but the reason why I got into social media myself is because I saw it as a beautiful tool for connecting one another, and yet it was actually used to divide us. Human beings are very tribal, yes, but we're also very collaborative.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. Did you see the Mr. Rogers documentary?
No, I haven't.
It's great. And I there's a scene in it, I talk about it all the time, but there's a scene in it where this is right when television was first being invented, and he goes, wow, what a beautiful tool to you can just pump things right into, you know, the living room to children. And he was watching it, and it was a lot of like violence and things blowing up and robots. And he was just like, what a shame that this wonderful tool is being used that way. I want to use it for something better. And even if it's only to my small little Pittsburgh area, I'm going to try and be a solid, you know, kind, good presence on television. And he became Mr. Rogers. And I think like social media can be used for something really beautiful, to unite us as a people and see all of us in our unique kind of cool and weird and quirky, and really just use it to see that we're actually very similar. You know, you're a Black woman, I'm a white guy, but we actually see a lot of things eye to eye. And when you use those kind of surface labels, it doesn't really tell you who people are. But when everything was happening with George Floyd and even before that during COVID, I was like, I gotta see what I'm missing in some of this. Picked up my phone and I just reach out to strangers, and I start talking to strangers, and then you know, you make friendships using social media instead of going into the echo chambers of, you know, the right wing, the left wing, and this and that, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, blah, 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 blah. Instead, it's just like, I'm curious, will you talk to me? And I do these like FaceTime conversations and stuff. It's really awesome. Do you see social media in a similar way? Do you see it now that you've kind of left, like not just doing makeup to doing this down this road a little bit? Do you see it as like, wow, we can do some really awesome things with it?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that people like you are super crucial to social media being an avenue for change and good and connecting, because you don't have your ego attached to any one cause so much so that you're willing to be condescending, or people are so argumentative. Like I have noticed this and recognized it, and recently I'll ask a question on Twitter, the question I genuinely want to understand. One of the questions I asked 2 days ago was, why are people supporting Trump? Please tell me how, because I'm looking at all of this, everything that's going on with my reasonable mind and saying, this guy he's not a leader. In my opinion, I don't think he's to lead. He's making the divisiveness. He's literally just throwing gasoline on it and fucking stoking it and making it these huge flames. And
what am I missing, right?
Yeah, right. Literally, and I'm genuinely asking. And so I got some replies from people, and some of them were I can tell they were on the defense with their responses. And I just responded calmly, and I said, oh, do you have any references? Can you please send me more information, because I'd like to know more about this. And then the response after that, you can tell they were much more relaxed. Like, thank you so much for talking to me calmly about this. I'd love to send you this. I can send you a DM for this. I really just want the country to be a better place and to be happier and work better. And you get down to you realize that these people, they're going to be on the defense because that is how we're communicating with each other in a very combative way. But if you speak to them from a place of non-ego, from a place of genuinely just trying to understand and genuinely connect, you disarm them, and then you can have an actual information. So then I got a link of all the things that Trump has done while in president. And that gives me more information to have a more informed decision as to why people are still choosing to support him. Granted, all of the stuff that he's doing now, I still don't think make up for the public televised craziness that he's causing to the country and to the rest of the world, frankly. But I do now have more information as to why these people are still choosing to ignore all of that. And that's what we need. We need more people who take their ego out of it, who take out their personal feelings on what's going on, or their wrongs, or their victimization of existing in America, and really just want to understand and connect with people. And when you do that, I think I look at it as like just healing a little scar on the internet, you know. At least those people can go off and say, you know what, I talked to that Cydnee, and I thought, because my picture on Twitter is I'm wearing my pink wig and I have on this crazy makeup. And I think a lot of times, generally, people assume that a Black woman is going to be more liberal or a Democrat. And so I'm going to have these more divisive ideas. And now just switching that little image in one person's head helps heal the world and helps heal what's going on and all of the divide. Like I really just hate how separated we're becoming because no one wants to just sit and listen and talk.
Yeah, and it becomes stereotypes, and that's why we have stereotypes, is like just because, oh well, it's gonna save time. So this person looks like this, they're gonna be this way, all that kind of stuff. And if you get that stereotype, you know, Martin Luther King did it. He's like, what are the stereotypes against Black people? It's we're violent and we're dumb. So I'm gonna get a PhD and be a pacifist. It's like, oh, like, so you can always point to like, nope, stereotypes are wrong for a reason, and here's just one reason, is just like, you know, how you conduct yourself.
Yeah.
I have like the three like kind of things that I'm constantly coming up, I'm trying to promote, which is genuine curiosity, genuine curiosity, like why, like you said, like why do you think this way? What is going on? What is the world? All that stuff. Intellectual humility of just like, maybe I'm wrong in my ideas. And then grace, just like pausing on judgment a little bit. And I think if we follow those, I mean, these are just things I just recently came up with, but like if we follow some of those things, then we'll just, you know, I think we'll be happier with ourselves. We'll understand the world better. We'll actually be smarter. And you are proof now that, you know, I hope that your kind of star continues to rise, because like I said, then it becomes proof of concept that you can be this kind of person and be really successful. And then you can kind of be a trailblazer.
I mean, I think so. I don't plan on going anywhere. I just plan on getting better. And what I'm doing now, seeing that is working, and seeing people who maybe would not have looked up a certain story or didn't understand a certain story, and are grateful to me. I've gotten a lot of comments of people saying, thank you so much for telling this story in a way that's not emotionally provoking. You're not trying to upset anyone by telling this story. You're just telling us what's going on. And I think that's super, super important. I tell everyone, be vigilant about how you feel when you're watching something. If you feel emotionally provoked in any fucking direction, probably take a step away from it, because it's emotional manipulation is what's going on. A lot of it is emotionally triggering people. And when you're in that state, you're not actually absorbing anything that'll help, I don't think.
Yeah. So what's next? I think because I said from in the beginning that I see you as just an amazing translator. You're a great, great translator to young people, which young people need. Like, what's next? Are you gonna stay on the history road? Are you gonna do like advanced concepts from books about, like, you know, like all kind, like where are you thinking of going and using your gifts, Cydnee? Like, you have this gift. What's the best way for you to use it, you think, going forward?
I appreciate you saying that. I really do. I want to continue doing history videos and stories, and I do want to start breaking down concepts as well, finding stories that can help break down concepts. Like one of the ones I want to start working on after the election are the history of the Democratic and Republican Party, and how they used to work together. You know, Abraham Lincoln had a vice president who was a Democrat and he was a Republican. They used to not be so, you know, one or the other. So when did this split happen, and why is it happening, and what are the different main values of each of the parties? And I like to do so in a general way that, you know, kind of it's a synopsis, so it's not, you know, it doesn't turn into a long drawn out video, because I have ADHD. I think that helps a lot with watching my video. If I'm like, okay, I'm bored here, cut it. I'm bored here, cut it. Like, so that helps me to make videos that people can watch longer, because I have the problem as well, as just losing my focus and attention to things. But I want to start breaking down concepts as well, so people can understand more about specific things that really do affect all of us in a more general way, and then giving them tools and access to do further research if they choose to. I also want to start collaborating. I want to be more collaborative with people like you. If you have a story that you'd want me to talk about, we can do a story together, and we can work back and forth as people who genuinely care about these kinds of things, to get the information out there. I think that's the most important thing. So that's my plan for right now. In the future, I don't know. I don't like doing the whole 5-year, 10-year thing, because I don't know, you know?
I know. Who would have seen this coming?
I know.
Yeah. How do you get your information? Like, how do you get your information that you believe to be credible? Do you get a whole bunch of sources and look for the overlap? That's generally
so what I've been doing in my most recent videos is watching documentaries. So I'll find a documentary either that I just like watching documentaries anyway. So if I find one that's interesting, I'm like, oh, I can talk about this. And then I'll do more research on it and find things that maybe that documentary didn't talk about, or the other side of it, because sometimes documentaries can be very biased in one direction.
Yeah.
So usually I'll watch a documentary, and that usually is credible enough, hopefully. But then going in and doing my own deep dive research to either confirm everything that I watched or find the opposing side. And then I write out a script, and then I film the video.
Yeah. I think it'd be very cool for you to do one on Jonathan Haidt's stuff with the moral foundations. I think you'd be really into it too. So
yeah, I'm gonna look into that. Please send me the link.
I will. So I guess just in closing, influence is a powerful thing, and everyone says that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I actually disagree with that. I think that power reveals. I think that there's a lot of people who don't have the option to be a real a-hole, a real asshole, and some people who are really sweet when they have no power, and if they are given power, then it just kind of reveals more of who they are, because power takes away a lot of your roadblocks and things like that. And you having the voice that you do, and it's growing among young people and people who are very, very, their brains very plastic and very malleable. I'm really glad that you have the voice that you do, the power that you do. I don't know, my podcast isn't huge, but I hope it gets out to people who wouldn't normally be watching your videos, and it can just grow more and more and more. I'm thrilled to have you here. I hope that we can, keep in touch and work together in some way in the future. Is there any kind of parting words for the audience? Or I also want to know, like, just where people can find you on social media and things like that as well.
So you can find me on YouTube with my name, just Cydnee Black, Cydnee Black. And then all of my socials are Cydbee, Cydbee. And my parting words, I think, would be to breathe. I think we should all learn how to breathe a bit more, take some deep breaths, and doing what you can to make, this sounds really cliche, but little things do actually benefit the world a lot. And if you feel compelled to be a little nicer, be a little kinder to whoever it is you come in contact with, do it. Please do it. And if you feel compelled to share your experience on the internet, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, it doesn't matter who is going to see it, because the right people, I believe, will see it if you're willing to put yourself out there and do it. Especially because I think something that I struggle with and I'm really, really working to overcome is knowing that I am a good person, I have good intentions, and not being afraid to put that out in the world, because I think people who don't have the best intentions they're super willing to put themselves, and maybe it's not their fault, there's a lot of circumstances that contribute to why people do the things they do, but what I found are good people are much more hesitant to do the thing, to be more outspoken and to say things that need to be said, quite frankly. And if you do feel that in your heart that you are that person, please do it. Please don't be afraid.
Oh, love it. Well, Cydnee, thank you for coming on here. It's a pleasure to finally actually meet you.
I know. Let's do this again soon.
Yeah, and keep it going. Keep it going, because it's awesome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Bye.